All right. If you're watching this video, we have actually moved to still in Unit 1 according to the themes from the AP exam on exploratory analysis. All right, but ultimately this is now part 2. This is getting into chapters 4 and 5. So quantitative variables. So this is where you had your first introduction, and you'll see one up here, about dot plots, and then into histograms, right, box plots, things of that nature. Okay, so I chose this one because it has a dot plot, and you should be hopefully familiar with that. So this has 20 data values, right? So 20 teams, and how many goals they scored on a particular day of soccer games in a city. All right, describe the distribution. When you see a histogram, when you see a dot plot, when you see a box plot, you should be thinking about 3 words to describe a distribution. Do you guys remember those words? Shape, center, and spread. Okay. Later this week, we'll get into a problem about linear regression. That's called a scatter plot, where you're graphing 2 quantitative variables, right? This is just one quantitative variable. Those 3 words later this week will be direction, form, and strength. So your brain needs to know the difference. Histogram, dot plots, box plots is shape, center, spread. All right, so you want to go to shot? Go ahead.
It's unimodal, skewed to the right with a potential outlier. And
okay.
The median is 2.
Hold on. There's a unimodal and skewed right shape with a potential outlier, I heard. Is that 10?
2. I mean,
the outlier is 10, right? You're thinking 10 goals? Wow, that was a good game for that team. Okay. All right. You said the median is 2 goals?
Yes.
Did you actually count that?
No, but
so,
I have a pretty good guess.
Okay. Well, here's the thing, Thomas. Don't say the word median unless you know it's the median. We can do it. Like we can do it right now and find it. Ready? Okay. Cross out the 0. Cross out the 10. Remember how to do this?
Yes.
Cross out 1, 7, 1, 5, 1, 5, 1, 4, 2, 4, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3. And there you go, right? So we'd be in between those. What's the average of 2 and 2? 2. So you're right. The median is 10. Or 2, excuse me.
But it's like, this is just like, it's not actually.
You're good. I'm just saying, like, all you got to do is slot in the word and say the center. The center is 2 goals. That's fine if you're not going to actually say it. But we just found it. The median is 2. All right, so that addresses the center. Now, what about the spread? What's the easiest spread to use? The range is the easiest. Am I saying that I use that like when I'm like actually doing analysis? No, it's not good, right? Because if there is an outlier or potential outlier here, you mentioned the 10, right? That would be an issue, right?
Here we go.
It would be a lot better to use the interquartile range. But am I going to take the time to do that? No, right? AP exam, you don't want to do that. So the range is 10 goals minus 0 goals. The team didn't score. So the range is 10. And the range is 10. All right. Key takeaway from this question is shape, center, spread. Now, real quick summary, right? We use median to describe the center. Do you guys remember other descriptions of center? What would be another stats vocab word that you could use to describe the center of data? That would be a range, right? Interquartile range, IQR is a range, a spread. What's the other one? There's median and mean is the one we usually use, right? Mean. Do you remember what I said, which ones are like married, right? You have mean is married to standard deviation and median is married to IQR. They're linked, right? Do you remember what Thomas said about the shape? He said the shape is unimodal and skewed to the right, right? The moment you mention skewness or a potential outlier, we should throw out which measures of center and spread. And the measure of spread? Standard deviation. We should throw that out, right? Because what's going to happen to your mean? it's going to be pulled towards that skewness, right? Pulled towards that potential outlier. And guys, I know we haven't done this in a long time, but to calculate standard deviation, you're using the mean, right? So if your mean has some issues, your standard deviation will also have an issue, okay? So that's why if you see anything that other than unimodal and roughly symmetric, you should throw out mean and standard deviation. So in this one, if I actually cared, I would use median and IQR, okay? All right, let's go to B. Superstar on a team scored 6 goals, but they lost. What are all possible final scores for that game? Okay, well, let's try to figure out which dot could be that team, or dots, plural.
7.
Well, so essentially, we have to look at 6 and above, right? Because the team scored 6 goals or more. Did any team score 6 goals? No, so they had to score 7. All right, and so in this case, how many teams scored 10? 1. So did that team win? Yes, right. No other team scored 10, so that team won. All right, so could this team who lost be the 10? No, so that means which one is this team? It could be 7. And what was the final score of that game? 10-7, because they had to lose. So in this case, right, the losing team scored 7, and the winning team scored 10. So it says, right, all possible final scores. That's it, guys. That's the only one that could happen. We know that for sure. Those teams played each other. The score was 10-7. Is it possible that all teams scoring exactly 2 goals won their games? Well, let's look. All right, if I zoom in here. All right, how many teams scored 2 goals? 6 teams. So if all those teams won, how many teams should be to the left of them in terms of scoring 0 or 1 goal? 6. Let's see. We have 1 team scored 0. And then 1, 2, 3, 4 scored 1 goal. All right, so that's 4 plus 1, which is 5, right? So is it possible that all the teams that scored 2 goals won? No. Now be careful. Some students might say 5 of them won, but do you actually know if these teams here that scored 2 goals played these teams to the left? No, because could a team that scored 2 goals have played the team that scored 5? Absolutely. So all you got to do to answer this is to say 6 teams scored 2 goals, and 5 teams scored 0 or 1 goal. Therefore, at least 1 team that scored 2 goals did not win. Again, key thing there, could it be more than 1 team? Yes. Could 2 teams that scored 2 goals have played each other? Yeah, they could have tied, right? They could have tied.